And we are live. I am Ronnie James Harris of the Limitless Channel, and I'm joined by Jason William Laufenberg. How you doing, brother? It's Sunday night, December the 11th, 2022.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you doing? Uh, how's the day been? It's been boring. We've been dealing with a whole bunch of tech stuff. We're trying to make upgrades and and yeah, so it's a tough process. We got to fight through it. You know, sometimes the device connects, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we work for hours getting ourselves sized correctly, and then it's not right. It just okay.
Yes, thank you for tuning in tonight while Jason gets everything set back up to the correct position. We're going to be going through basically how you can verify something is true or not, what we do. And I'm just going to make sure you've got the screen share. You should be back. Okay, I've got to make you larger again because I should have known that that was the problem. Hilarious. But Jason, how are you doing, bro? Let's have that again. You said bored, right?
Yeah, just slow dealing with tech issues. I mean, that's a grind when you're dealing with stuff like this, trying to figure out connectivity issues and why
Mm-hmm.
this will turn on and won't turn on and all that kind of stuff. Having doubled audio signals coming through virtual cables, all that kind of
Jesus
stuff.
God.
It's just like, oh, it makes my head hurt. And yeah, it's part of it when you're doing your own production work. So
Yeah.
we we self-produce, so we have to. And when you do an upgrade like this, it's a bit painful. But I don't know, you should be able to see now, everybody, that we should be coming through much clearer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're still working with the audio things. It seems like there's a little bit of something going on. Not too bad right now, but we'll get through it, and eventually we're gearing up for 2023. So one of the
Yeah.
things that we want to do is create a new studio. All right, so you guys have seen this studio for the last 2 years. We want to make a new studio that is fun and has a totally different look and feel to it. And of course, we got to update the spinning rectangle and a whole bunch of stuff. So
Yeah.
2023, we're still not out of 2022. There's still opportunity for the Great Tribulation to get its kickoff going this year. We've got NASA, all their launches, their landings, all these things are timed stuff. Artemis, the fake Artemis came back today. So what does that mean? Being December 11th, how does this fit into their narrative and what's next? We're coming up, this week is the week that Joe Biden said that we're supposed to go cashless, right? December 13th, I think it was said. So on the 13th, we got to see what's going on. Um, yeah, coming into Christmas season, lots of opportunity for
Yeah.
something big to happen in the world. But yeah, we just plan on, like, if it doesn't happen this year, what are we going to do to improve ourselves next year? That's what we're always working on.
Yeah, that's our goal here is to constantly get better. That's what we're trying to do. My mic's a little bit low, and there's hiccups along the way. But yeah, so that you just filled everybody in. So Artemis is relaunching. If I look up too far, we get blinded here. So I mean, I'm trying to get everything dialed in. Like, where do I sit? If I look up like this with my glasses on, nobody can see. So like all these little things that we're working on, trying to get better. Again, we don't have any help, right? We're just two carpenters. That's it. Jason and I are builders. We build things. Um, but we like to build truth into these types of podcasts. So let's start off tonight. We're a little bit laid back. It's a Sunday. Again, it's the December 11th. How do we go about verifying, Jason, if something is true or not?
You got to test it. You got to come up with. There's the whole process of creating the thesis statement. You should ask Nathan Oakley, and he's got it down to a T. But so the basic premise is that you have to make a prediction, right? So this is doing this because of this, that type of stuff. Then you go out and you test it. And then you test all the variables to make sure that you can isolate the thing that you are saying is causing another thing, and then it can be isolated as actually being that. So once you go through a process like that, I mean, you've identified that something's real, you've identified that something's measurable, and now you're trying to put correlation to event. And once you've done all that, gone through all those steps, then you can step back and go, it's a fact, it's true. I mean, it's got a reality, this causes that, all that kind of stuff. And once you've got something like that, you document it, share with everybody. So Not everybody has to go through the exact same process. You can see what things you can go test yourself to verify it. So that type of process works for anything.
Yeah. So the simple steps are you something you find out and oh, this is true. So you take that piece of information like, oh, someone says I can see 200 miles. Right? Okay, let's verify if this is true. So you need to find something that you can measure with, and a camera happens to be one of the best things that we can measure distances with because it's like having an eye that we can put a ruler to the picture that we take, and we can use Google Earth. So someone says they can see 200 miles. So you say, okay, I want to find out if that's true. These flat earthers are going around saying they can see 300 or thousands of miles. The Jay Tolan media guy, right? He's got 3,000 miles, 1,200 miles.
1250, I think I've seen them say.
So what we do is we go out and we take a photograph of something, and unfortunately, everything after 10 miles starts to become despotized and fuzzy. So the only thing we can really see is within our circle of sight. So from the ground, we take the picture of something that's barely 3 miles away. That's the largest we can see an object from the ground horizontal view. So once you have a piece of information that you want to verify it's true, what you need to do is test it. You need to try to debunk it through deductive reasoning. And then once you've eradicated all the things that it cannot be, you're left with what is truth, right? And what we have found that things that are true are often repeatedly done over and over again by multiple people from different places in the realm, not connected. As soon as you find, oh, there's an ice wall, and you find only one here's a better example, and then I'm going to throw it back to you. The circling up all day, 24-hour sun. Well, it's actually, 52 days straight? It doesn't set, supposedly. There should be footage.
Heliocentrism, yeah.
There should be footage of this everywhere. When we went out to see if this was true, we went around to try to find the information. All you get is one shill video that was shared by Eric Dubay and Rob Skiba with the sun that's CGI'd spinning around. There's cuts and glitches, and it's just garbage. So if you want to see if something's true, there was only one person who had that footage. And D. Marble literally went to Alaska to film it at the time when he needed to be there, and the sun set, right? Although he put his camera in an angle so that there was a hill, a large hill, in the westerly direction, northwesterly direction, so it set behind the hill first, and then he turned the camera off. So what we went out and did is said, you know what? There's clouds behind the sun and the moon. Right? So Jason and I both independently, before we even met, verified this by filming it with our cameras. I had a Sony, Jason had the P900. Okay? So we went out and then we tested that. We observed it. Okay, yeah, it seems like between the 10 degrees in the sky rise, 10 degrees down to the degrees set, we're able to verify that, yeah, there's clouds behind the sun and the moon and the stars. Right? So then what we do, we went online and we researched clouds behind the sun or the moon. And then you find hundreds, if not thousands, of different people not connected in any way verifying the same thing. So that is how we knew that, hey, this is repeatable, it's true, right? So anytime you hear anything out there, any statistic, any type of evidence, anything to do with the earth and the shape of our realm or the scriptures, you need to find corroborating evidence from different places, and then you have to do through deductive reasoning, you will come up to the solution, right? You will be left with the truth once you eradicate which it is not. And that is how we do it. Jason, it's back to you.
Yeah, totally. So you if you're testing cause and effect, what you do is you test every single possible cause you can think of against it to see which one would be the correct cause. So you don't want to just test one cause for something. You want to test every single possible variable that could possibly be present. Test each one of them, and then you can isolate which one is having the effect. And yeah, we all need to be quote unquote scientists because it's the process of testing and evaluating data that we can actually have this confirmation of something being real. As long as we hear it from somebody else, now all of a sudden we're having to operate on trust. And trust is going to burn you because there are plenty of people in this world that are going to betray your trust and they're going to lie to you and deceive you because they're part of an agenda or they're just self-absorbed, you know? So it really behooves you to actually do the testing on anything important, and not rely on somebody else to tell you something. So we've we've gone out, we filmed the clouds behind the sun. We can tell you, yes, there's clouds behind the sun, but the true believers are the ones that have actually gone out and done it for themselves and gotten the same results. We've had a couple people that we've been able to deeply influence because we had the camera and we were recording it, and they were there to watch it being recorded. They were able to see it on the screen. Then they were able to focus with their eyes and see with their eyes, and then we were able to take that 4K footage, put it up on the TV, and everybody looks at it, and it's stunningly obvious when there are clouds behind the sun. And that, once again, is it's the best proof that you're in a virtual reality that we've come across so far. If we come across a better one, we'll let you know, but there's one. Go out, test it. Once you see that, obviously you have to be in a virtual reality once you realize that those clouds that are in your circle of sight, maybe 10 miles away from you, that the sun is actually passing through clouds within your circle of sight. Then you're going to know that it's not a fireball millions of miles away, or a fireball 3,000 miles up above us doing circles inside a pressurized pizza dome. Once you see the clouds in front of, behind, the sun going into them, coming out of them, and you really witness what's taking place, and accept and contemplate that, you're going to know that you're in a virtual reality. Test it, test it, test it. You're not going to be disappointed.
Okay, great points again, as always. As always, we do not live in a pressurized pizza dome. Okay, we don't. I like the way you put that. I'm going to continue to say that over. We need to get shirts made that say hashtag Team Yahawashai. We do not live in a pressurized pizza dome made by the Freemasons and the New World Order United Nations map. It's ridiculous. So moving on. Okay, once we've now we've explained to people through deductive reasoning and excluding that which is not true, you are left with the truth. Then you go about verifying it with other people. You see that it's not just you that have captured this, even though anomalies do take place. Now we've moved on to the next stage, sharing truth. So the most important thing that happens here with what is called the truth movement, you'll have two different types of people that you're going to find. And it all comes down, just like Enoch, the book we're going to be talking about a little bit more on, like we always do. 5,000 years ago, roughly, the book was written. It was all centered around your heart position, your heart. When you come to a position of being in a situation where you found a truth that doesn't align with how you want it to, right? When someone tells you that you don't live on a globe, okay, that's spinning, gyrating, wobbling, flying around the great galactic equator attractor, the Milky Way, all of this stuff, when you have these hard fastened beliefs, it comes down to your heart position, right? That is what the deciding factor is. So what you find is you'll have some people that will get triggered when they find out the truth. It's bitter, like it says in the book of Thomas. The truth, it tastes sweet like honey at first, but it becomes bitter in your stomach for a while when you realize that you have to let go of these false paradigms, right? So once you become at that point, you'll either continue to live in falsehoods and lies, sharing misinformation and disinformation because you have a putrid heart, or you will change, right? Change, which, the modern day Christians we're going to be talking about, they'll use the word repent, which just means change your way. If you have a good heart, you want the truth. You're going to go to it. And when we start talking about heavenly things, like what the luminaries are, what humans call stars, right? They've named them after their Greek gods, these humans. It's a joke. When we start talking about heavenly things, I think people need to really start to grasp the earthly things first before you start to wander into the heavenly understandings. Now, if you found us, you're going to hear the heavenly and the earthly things. That's what we've been doing for almost 10 years now. We're going to continue to it. The most important thing that I can tell anybody on the other side of the screen is your heart. You ask from everlasting to everlasting life. His name is Yahawah, which means existence. Ask existence to give you a good heart, because then you'll be able to navigate through the realm like Nephi did, with a compass that only worked when he was doing righteous things. Okay? I see this absolutely every single day. Every single day in my life, I see it. I see the fact that if I do something that's wrong, a negative program runs. Okay, Jason and I are explaining to the people here heavenly things, and we're using basic earthly understandings like virtual reality. Right? Enoch didn't have that word. Christ didn't have that word, but they were still able to relate these messages down through time. Basically like a tree. We're a tree that's grown up out of the ground. Now we have fruit coming out of the leaves and the branches because it's been 6,000 years. So we're able to, with the advent of the internet, I'm going to throw it back to you, Jason. I've gone way past my shift on this rant. With the advent of the internet, we're now in the most powerful knowledge-based time. You can search anything at the touch of your phone. You can search any information that's ever been written, that's been documented. So with that comes the largest amount of accountability. And what people don't want to hear is that it's worse for you to be alive now and to crave after things that they did in Sodom and Gomorrah. It's worse now because in Sodom and Gomorrah, they had no understanding of the path of salvation, which was truth and righteousness. They were living, they were learning, right? And the other thing is that you're going to find one last thing, a huge trip or fall, is that the Jesuits have done a masterful job at taking what you see plainly and then making you believe that you see something else. It's like Math Powerland's story. He's back, by the way. Someone in Russia can see Alaska, and they tell them, hey, Alaska can see Russia. I see across the Bering Strait. It's like 50 miles. We said you could see at a high vantage point 50 miles. They'll say, no, you're not seeing Russia. It's impossible. The Earth's a sphere. 8 inches squared per mile curvature. There's no way. You're seeing an aberration. So what they've done is masterfully taught you that you can't believe what you see. And it's going to be the same thing with the scriptures today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you want me to ask a question? What did you want to do here? Did you want to segue? That was my rant. These are the most important things. And when we started doing podcasts, if you go back to the beginning, are people able to get to the first video here on Beyond Flat Earth? Because YouTube has just absolutely annihilated their own platform. Right now that you click on our videos, Jason has, what do you have? 1,000 videos? Maybe 400 or 500 public.
Yeah, but now with the way they have it set up, you only get to see 42 of my videos, and that's it.
Unbelievable. Make me bang the desk, YouTube.
Popular. You get to see the popular ones that YouTube chose, and you get to see the most recent. So you get to see 42 videos out of...
What was wrong with the way that you click on the 3 bars and you... oldest video or most popular video? You had that choice, and then you could scroll through every video on the channel. They're not doing it to save bandwidth because the videos are still there.
Yeah, they just did it to...
or server.
Everybody's content.
Hide the content. So yeah. One of our...
Not everybody's affected like that. So I have 42 videos that you can see, but I went to a channel like Jaranism, and the way it's set up now, it shows his most popular, and when it shows his recent, it shows all of his videos.
What?
Yeah, everything. So it's selective, where anybody that they don't like you, now all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how much content you have, they're going to select what people can see, and that's it.
That's horrible, because if you were able to go back to the beginning of Beyond Flat Earth and go through the progression with us since 2017, we started it very early on, January 2017, if I'm not correct. I believe I am. You're able to follow along our path to finding the true map, the true shape, the true reality that we verified, and through deductive reasoning came to those conclusions. And then when we exhausted every other possibility, we were left with what was truth. So you can't go back. But what we did was we outlined how we were able to use shills and disinformation to actually find truth. Because they put out, shills and agents are put in place and they are given truths to share, like the name Yahawashai. They were given that name and the incorrect pronunciation of it. They dropped the in Sha'ai. If you're going to add the A's in and the pronunciation, you need to correctly write down Yahawashai. So what they do is they give their agents their information, and then they go out and they spread it, and then they load it with disinformation. That same channel will tell you that Enoch is blasphemous, right? And a bunch of other things. So what we need to understand is that, yes, truth is put out by the agents, right? The CIA, the FBI, the CIA, they put agents in place and they stack them with the views and they make them popular, and then they give them dis and mis and malinformation. And then what we see, the majority of people that have a good heart, like on Facebook, I've been asking people now, Jason, when I see them sharing the newest Twitter drop from Elon Musk, right? You're not on there. They booted you off, right? I asked the people, how much did you get paid to share this? Right? And they're coming back with, nothing. But I completely agree. Hillary Clinton needs to be locked up. Anthony Fauci needs to be arrested. And so this is what the most ridiculous thing is. And then I asked these people, you understand that this is an agent meme, the agenda that you're sharing. Elon Musk literally has a Baphomet outfit on in his avatar. Not even 3 or 4 months ago, he was at a big party.
I think you're getting a little bit outside the topic for tonight.
He went to a party, and let me finish. He wore a shirt that said the New World Order on the shirt. It said the New World Order on the back of his coat. So the main point that I'm trying to make here is that truth is put out by the agents, because it is true. People do want to see Fauci locked up. They do want to see Hillary locked up, right? That's what they think is going to happen. But they're putting that out, and then they're railroading you into Elon going to Mars, the planet or whatever these humans call the luminary in the sky. They call it Mars. So you get railroaded through these agents, right? If people think that that's what the truth is, they've got to do deductive reasoning and figure out, why would somebody be doing this? So the main thing that we'll say before we move on from this character, from this topic, is that your heart condition is the most important thing. Your heart condition. If you don't have the right heart, it doesn't matter how much truth that you find. You're not going to accept it. You're just going to keep walking by it. So what did you want to add, Jay?
Nothing. What do you mean?
Well, you were saying that I was getting outside the topic. You wanted to reel it back in. I thought you maybe had something that you wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Elon. And
yeah, well, I'm teaching about the ways that we decipher between truth and fiction, right? Lies and deception. Elon Musk is telling truth from a deceptive position. That was the point. And that you need to...
What?
Go ahead. I cut you
off. Yeah, tonight we were going to talk about the Enochian cosmology. And so the last hangout that we did was, we didn't bring scripture into it at all. We just talked about scientific proofs where you can actually test and verify and record and do all these scientific things about how we can debunk heliocentrism and how we can prove that we're on a motionless, non-curved plane. So we did that all without scripture. Now, being a Sunday, what we wanted to do was connect the scripture to it. And so there's all the typical things that most people know from the 66 canon. But the one that really covers it the most, the best, the most detailed is Enoch. And so we were going to go through that and bring up some of the graphics, the modern tools that we have where we can actually look and visualize what we're hearing in these words. And then, yeah, multiple texts you had. And is there anything else you want to go through before we get into that?
No. Yeah, that's one segment. So the beginning of the podcast was around how do you decipher from what is true and what is false, leading into basically how you can understand and you can take truth from mis and disinformation agents. We're also going to talk about some scripture. So I guess I'll get ready. Let me switch over here. I guess I'm going to have to take the screen share.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll almost get ready here. Oh, it said I can't. Oh, there we go. Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Let's get this moving along here. Got 2 screen shares apparently. Let me put this back on quietly. So if you could just talk for a second while I get set up here.
Yeah. So we had Brian M. said he understood that Nephi reference. That's huge. So each time we go through stuff where we do a reading, tonight we're going to be reading some Enoch and some other stuff that Ronnie has prepared for us. And each one of these names and characters that we learn.
Hang on one second. Can I get you to do a screen share and then we'll swap it again? I just had a bit of an echoey sound on your voice.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get this stuff all dialed in. It takes a little bit of practice, but we're going to get there. So, talk again. I got your screen share on.
1, 2, testing. How does that sound?
That sounds fine. So I'm going to take it back from you. Hopefully it continues to stay in that good section.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Let's see here.
Yeah, so each time we learn another character and what they did, how they were involved.
It's a little
story was about. It adds to a greater understanding, to a greater context. You can see things about this world if you know those names that the vast majority of people can't.
It still sounds a little garbly. I don't know why it's doing that to us right now, but a little garbly. I'm just going to make sure the background music, and then we'll get into this. I don't know why it's garbling on us. I know when you do the screen share, it sounds great. So
yeah, I don't know.
I think it sounds all right. Yeah. We'll continue to get it better. But this the meme section here, we'll start off. It says, "This is the dawn of a new age. We're entering into a new age, right? And the kingdom of this realm is not of this world or the last 6,000 years. It's going to be something new, right? New bodies, new kingdom. So let's go through these quick memes here. Make no mistake. I have to turn something off. This is absolutely spiritual warfare. Everything that Jason and I do all the time. When you see us on here, we're fighting for truth in the spiritual realm. Right, Jay? I don't know if you stepped away.
Yeah, just a second. I was trying to get my mic fixed now that...
Sounds a little better, but then, I don't know. Just make sure you're on the right setting. I think it's okay. And here we do not ignore evil at all, or any of these groups. We don't side with them. We don't share the information. We actually expose it. We expose it. That's what we do here. This one I do want to get your voice on as well, Jason. This one says, let's get some things straight. Right? This is not Yahawashai. This is not what he looks like. This is not an angel. Okay? Right? This is not a church or what you think a church is. Right? This is not Yahawashai. This is not on Easter. Okay? This isn't what he was on either. It wasn't a squared off cross looking post thing. It's not what it looked like. This is not Christmas. Right? Why would anybody celebrate something called Mass? It's something you do when somebody dies, right?
Yeah, the Catholics got all that stuff going.
Right.
They have Mass. They don't even go to church, right? They have Mass.
What if I change that? Continue to talk.
To find out what?
Keep talking.
Come to find out the Catholics, who, when I grew up, I thought that they were just sort of a weird sect of Christians, but turns out they're not Christians at all. They are absolute Satanists, and yeah, what they teach is not Christianity. It's not biblical. They are the ones that have been making up all the lies, all the bullshit. And they created the secret societies and the sworn oaths and all that kind of stuff. They really are the bad guys.
Can you screen share for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, you're trying to fix the sound here. Trying to see why it does that to us. We did a bunch of tests. Everything ran great. Talk?
We ran these tests for a couple hours.
So as soon as you screen share, we're good, right? As soon as you stop screen sharing, it is not good. So how about this? Well, no, you can't see my screen.
No, I can't.
I'm going to screen share again. We'll probably have to end up going back to Zoom, unfortunately. Because it's
I already destroyed it. It's gone. In the company, everything Zoom. No more Zoom.
Let's get some things straight. Okay, let's get back into this. He wasn't born on December 25th or the 21st, as the Satanists, those who hate truth, will tell you. It's ridiculous. That's the darkest day of the year. It's not. He was tabernacles, same as Adam. Moving on here. This is not Noah's Ark.
You guys have been just fed nothing but lies out there. This is not what Satan looks like, right? And this is not Yahawashai. This is not even the real name, right? So these are just things that we want to point out. Did you want to say anything before I moved on after that one?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you sound better. This one right here, I just thought was funny. Which one is your ancestor, right? Which one? Which one, Jay? Where do you think you descended from? None of them,
I
right?
don't even want to touch this. It's so racist.
It's ridiculous that the New World Order has been able to pull the wool over our eyes and try to tell us that we descended from apes and monkeys. It's men with evil motives.
There's so many people out there that believe that they're a descendant of a monkey. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, men with very evil motives peddling pseudosciences to make you believe you're a monkey living on a spinning ball. That's what they did. That's what they needed.
Tadpole used to be, right?
Well, they started it off with the only reason they use evolution is to back the sphere Earth's, what is it, 14 billion years or whatever they say its age is. So that's how we were able to change from a monkey in all those billions of years. It's all nonsense, pseudoscience. It's fake. There's no proof in it. The Peltdown man that they used was a half human skull and half monkey skull. It was exposed.
This all comes from the Vatican.
Speaking of the Vatican.
The heliocentrists, right? Oh, you got something.
Speaking of the Vatican, who made Jason referenced it, the 66 books, which again is somebody else's, the Catholics. It says here, Pope St. Damasus I chose the scriptures which he considered genuine and ordered them to be put into the 66 books. Now, he did it with a group, right? Not just Pope St. Damasus. There was more.
Yeah.
But it was the Vatican and guys wearing these satanic outfits and hats, always with the hats coming in here, trying to stop all the books. The Book of Enoch we're going to be getting into right shortly. They took it out. They took out anything that made scriptures make sense. Right now, you have people running around thinking that Cain and Abel were twins, that were born because of an orgy in the garden. Which everything that they do is just twisted, because when you actually understand in the Book of Adam and Eve that they were born with twin sisters and they were supposed to each swap to have the correct amount of chromosomes and what other features were needed. So that's where they came up with this. St. Jerome translated the scriptures for 30 years in a cave, it says here in Jerusalem, and called it the Latin Vulgate. Now, the Latin Vulgate...
Are you screen sharing this to YouTube, or?
I should be. Did I not go back? I'll go back. At least the sound is better now. All right, that's all I was actually worried about. Back on here, yeah, with Pope St. Damasus I here. Right, here he is. St. Jerome translated the scriptures into what is called the Latin Vulgate. Right, have you read that? Or parts of it, Jason?
The Latin Vulgate? Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that what they translated our English language text off of, is the Latin Vulgate?
I think so. I'm going to switch a sound setting. Nah, I don't want to. We're just going to have to go with it for now. I thought it might have went bad again since we come back here. But so the Latin Vulgate, you have a guy like Zen Garcia who's gotten a bunch of books out of there, and then he's kind of rewritten them and he sells those on his website. So a lot of people do use the Latin Vulgate. Robert Farrell uses it as well for different transliterations of different books of scriptures. So he did something kind of good, right? Pope St. Syracuse, he called it the Bible. There we go. There we get the guy. You can search up his name. Tertullian gave the term New Testament, right? There was no name to it called the New Testament until the year 200 AD, right? That's where they added that. And yes, they added in the terms Trinity, right? I know Jason's a super strong opponent against the so-called Trinity theory, right?
It's Kabbalism.
Yeah.
Bullshit. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in the only Christian religion on earth that doesn't believe that God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit are one, because that right there, the Trinity, is Kabbalism. And that's what the Catholic Church does, is they try to infiltrate Christianity with Kabbalism and get it all screwed up. And so, yeah, they got the majority of Christians believing in this 3 is 1 Kabbalist doctrine.
Yeah, completely. I agree. The Book of Enoch actually destroys NASA and the globe sphere. Why do you think they took it out? Why do you think they took it out? This is why the Vatican and the Jesuits removed the Book of Enoch, so they could lie more easily. Right? It's obvious. We're going to be getting into that. The Book of Enoch, and behold, a star fell from heaven, and the children of the earth began to tremble and quake before them and to flee from them. And again, I saw how they began to go unto each other and to devour each other and the earth, and they began to cry aloud. So the Book of Enoch explains why the flood happened in detail. And then there's only one true creator, okay? And his name is Yahawashai, and then what we have is billions of deceived people. So now this is the section where, I guess, Jason, you're going to take the screen share. Let me put the thumbnail back on. You're going to pull up the Andrew Marsh site, and I'm going to begin to go through the scriptures, and we're going to talk about how they align, right? So I'm going to stop the screen share for you. Now we'll get you to screen share, and then you should sound nice and good.
Yeah.
We sound better now. I think there's a setting within my... We got to figure it out. But let me get you up on the screen share now. Let's see here. I'll turn my screen share off. And you should be presented. So what we have here on the screen, go ahead, Jason, talk about it. It's Andrew Marsh's website, right?
It is. And so we love this tool. We really enjoy it. The only thing we wish is that it did the moon and the stars as well. This just does the sun, but I mean the sun's enough to debunk heliocentrism and the fake flat earth. So just going to walk people through stuff again. We had somebody mention that they were familiar with Nephi. Well, the more times we show this this path of the sun through a site like this, the more it's going to sink into your head and you're going to comprehend it. So what we have on the left over here is the map of the world that you can move your pin around. Now, watch what happens when we move the pin. You see how it rotates that yellow circle? Looks like a ring, right? So as you move your location from north to south here, you see that tilting. And what this has is it has the ecliptic, the path of the sun, it has the analemma, it has the 6 gates of Enoch, it has the times of the day. So let me pull this around here. How come it doesn't have some angles? It should. All right, so if I move the date, you see the sun moving along a path. It's moving along the analemma. So if I put it out here, it's going to be easy to see this, that it's marked out in military time. So you have 5 o'clock, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here's your noon, and then your 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So this right here, we are at the summer solstice, and we are north of the equator. And yeah, for a lot of people in the United States, this is probably what they're familiar with. When you step outside the door, you're going to be at this point right here. You're in the center of this circle of sight. So this right here, this outside ring, is your circle of sight. Now we can sort of emphasize this a little bit by changing the diagram size. All right, so if I crank up the diagram size here, now it becomes a little realistic, where if you're a person down on the ground here and you're looking out to the horizon, your horizon's going to generally be in the 3 to 5 mile range, unless if you've got a little bit of elevation, and then you might see 10 miles. Little bit extra elevation, and you have some things around you that you can isolate that are big, you know, a mountain, a big building, stuff like that. Then you're going to be able to see 20 miles. Now all of a sudden, when you get into the 30 to 40 mile range, remember that people that live 40 miles away from the Rocky Mountains don't see them. Right, you need to be within that 40 mile range to see even something like the Rocky Mountains. And so this is your circle of sight here. Now notice that this is built to a plane. See, this is not a globe. And all of these programs, Stellarium, we're going to show you Stellarium again too, built to a plane. All of this is built off of a plane, and it has the path of the sun, moon, and stars going around the observer. Let me put this into motion here. We can speed this up a little bit. All right, so here, I wanted to show nighttime too. So now we've got the path of the sun going around, and you see that it's a constant speed. It's just going at its rate. Now, because we're out here at the summer solstice, right, longest day of the year for the north, let me pause this. You can see that the rim of this yellow circle right here, this is the biggest, longest path that the sun can take. All right, so over here we've got some information. It tells us that the daylight time, 14 hours, 42 minutes, right? This is the longest day of the year. Now, if I move this to our winter solstice, look at the path of the sun. This is each day. It's following that red line. It's got a click for every single day. Those are the gates, and we're going to get it out to...
We're going to get into that,
yeah, the winter solstice. And now what do we have? We have the shortest path of the sun right here. Still running the same speed. Let's click play. This is the exact same thing that it was doing on the longest day of the year, but it's running a shorter path. And now our daylight hours is 9 hours and 36 minutes for this location.
So it's 24 hours from, highest in the sky to the highest in the sky the next day. Always 24 hours.
That's it. So it's pretty simple. We can put it anywhere in the world. If you know the latitude and longitude, you can just adjust these sliders right here and get it super exact. So we continue to let everybody know that we can actually plot the path of the sun around the observer to the 100th of a degree. It's got 2 decimal places here per second. That's really accurate. Really accurate.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
When the fake flat earthers show their pressurized pizza dome, they don't have anything where you can track the sun's position by the 100th of a degree per second. They don't have anything like that.
No, because their map is ass backwards, with the sun circling off of it in reality. Right? So are you going to continue to explain this, or should we get into the understanding how we're going to line it up with the Book of Enoch?
No, we can get into... I just was doing sort of a brief overview right there.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Detail.
Yeah, well, continue if you had to. I see you've added a couple clicks, but continue.
Yeah, so this right here shows the azimuth and the altitude, where, it's really simple. For any given second, your compass heading is going to be 177.19, and your altitude is going to be 38.57. So one of the things that Red's Rhetoric and all those buffoons used to yell and scream is that the axis mount for a telescope, that that would only, if you're tracking something, that would only work on a globe, this 2-axis. And so here are the 2 axes, and you literally can do it on a flat plane. That's how it's all set up.
No, you can't do it on a sphere, is what you meant to say.
Exactly. So go ahead and what
we're going to do is, from now on, when using the system we're using, you're always going to be screen sharing. So you'll have to have the Book of Enoch open on your own end. For now, I'm going to take the screen share and show people about the book of the courses of the heavenly luminaries. And then we're going to get back into that. So I'll read a bit. And then if you have the link on your end, you can pull it up on your end and then you can read. I can toggle on and off screen shares easily.
All right. Yeah, I can get to it.
So this is just a section of the first book of Enoch, right? They took Enoch's books and they made them into different books and this and that. But we'll continue here. Let's get into this. It says, the book of the courses of the heavenly luminaries, of the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel, who was with me, who was their guide, showed me. So we've got the guide of the heavenly luminaries. His name is Uriel, right? And he's speaking to Enoch. He's showing Enoch these things, okay? And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regards to all the years of the world and unto forever eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. So the new creation is the one we're on the dawn of. We started the podcast off, we're at the dawn of a new age. We're at the dawn of the new creation, right? On the sixth day, what was created, Jason? Man. Yes. Man. And we're going to be created we are going into the seventh day. The sixth day we're in right now. We are being created as we speak. And it goes on to state, and this is the first law of the heavenly luminaries. And that is the luminary, the great one, which is called the sun. And his rising, I'm going to put you back on screen share now, Jason. Do you have the Andrew Marsh on? I should have given you more warning, but I know you're always prepared.
I brought up the text.
Okay, we're going to go. I would like you to go to, it's how easy this is for Jason and I. I'd like you to go to the spring equinox, please.
Okay.
And the first luminary that I saw is that of the luminary of the sun, and his rising is in the eastern portals of the heavens. So you got fake flat earthers that'll take this scripture and say firmament in the dome, right? The sun's rising in the dome, because this is actually rakia, this word here. And its setting is, yes, in the western side. And so we've got this word portal, which is the Freemasonic New World Order MK Ultra term that they took from this book and tried to make it sound like there was some crazy thing taking place here. All there is taking place is that's the position. A portal was a channel that a boat would sail through in the ocean, right? A section determined from left to right, right? Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
We've got the 6 portals, the 6 areas where the sun travels through as if it was a channel in the ocean. And I saw the 6 portals, or the 6 gates, right, in which the sun rises, and the 6 gates in which the sun sets. So we're looking at the eastern side. Jason can hit play, and you can see the sun rise up out of the earth. Right now, we're in the beginning of what would be the year, right? The sun is in the...
Right there is the path of the equinox. Now all of a sudden it's the day after. Right?
Everybody can see. Okay, I'm going to continue reading here. In which the sun sets, and the moon also too rises and sets in these same gates. And the leaders of the stars, and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. So what we wish that Andrew Marsh had here was the stars, the moon, and everything else that we could track, because that would be great, right? Now he only has the sun, which is good. The sun is the great of the luminary we just discussed. So I'll continue on here. Also, many windows to the right and the left are other gates that these luminaries travel in and out of. And then it goes on to state, and the first gate, there goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is that likened unto the circumference of the heavens. And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating light or fire, is said here, because they obviously are trying to explain things on the earthly level. The chariot which it ascends on is driven by the wind. The sun's path is used by wind. So the sun, the moon, and the stars all have a wake associated with them. It's a function that's in the game here, and it's explained. And the sun goes down from heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east. So again, the sun goes under the earth, right? And it is so guided that he comes to his appointment or his appointed time. And then too, he shines in the face of the heavens. So once he rises above, he starts to shine. And in this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal. So which is the 4th gate. Jason, where are you positioned here? Can you annotate? You can. There is an annotate button. I don't know if you want to try it live.
I just want to show people here.
You can zoom in, yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the 21st, and you're going to see that it's exactly... All right, so I moved us down to the equator now. Let me get us exactly on the equator. All right. So we're exactly on the equator, exactly on the equinox. And if I run the time back here, sun's going to come up exactly east. The shadows are going to be cast exactly west. And it's going to run this path, you know, straight 90 degrees overhead, and it's going to set in the west. Now, like Ronnie's reading right now, this is the fourth gate. So this line right here begins the fourth gate, where each day as I take it over here, right, it's going to move 30 days through this gate. That is the fourth gate. So this line right here is the fifth gate. All right, we'll be getting to that. So right now,
We're still in the first gate.
we're still in the first gate. All right, Ronnie's reading. We're moving through this gate right now like this. And then this is where we're going to get to the fifth gate right here.
Right. And I really want people to understand this. Okay. This is a modern 2022 computer software program matching exactly with a book that's 5,000 years ago. And I would like you on the other side of the screen to check your heart condition and ask yourself, how is this possible? Considering NASA and all the disinformation that we've gone through in the last 100 years, this book and this graphic, this program destroys everyone else's theories, right? How does that happen? Right?
We were shocked when we found out that this program literally had the 6 gates of Enoch in it already.
Right?
I mean,
Perfect. Right? And I'll continue here. And it says, those 6 portals in the east as well that he rises from. And in that 4th portal from which the sun rises is the 1st month. And there's 12 window openings. And he comes forth through that 4th portal 30 mornings in succession. And sets accurately also in the 4th portal in the west. Right? There you go. You have an exact model of it. Right? And during this period of the day becomes longer. Right? And the nightly shorter. As we go through after the solstice or the equinox in the spring, all of a sudden we get longer days, right? Enoch,
so
you outlined that.
we're going to be in the north for that. So now because of the tilt here, each one of these days, it's working towards the outside rim here.
Yeah.
Where the outside rim is the longest day. It's the longest path.
And Enoch says, and during this period, he literally says it gets longer until the 13th morning. And on that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part. And the day amounts exactly to 10 parts and to the night 8 parts. Enoch is specifically outlining this. This is from the book of the Courses of the Luminaries. Enoch, Book of Enoch. I don't know why I'm stuttering here. And during this period, like I had said, the day becomes longer and the night becomes shorter. And then the sun rises again from that 4th portal and sets in that 4th portal and returns then and goes to the 5th portal of the east and goes through that succession 30 mornings. And rises from it and sets in the 5th portal, and the day becomes again longer by 2 parts, and that amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal. So we've just gone through the 5th portal. Are you in that as we're talking here?
We are in the 5th portal right here, but we're only about halfway through it. I'm going to bring the sun back around so that this is lit up nice over here. You can see that we're about halfway through at April 4th. So let's go to April 21st. And look at where it is. It's literally on that dotted line that we were talking about. You see that, everyone? So there was 30 gates here from the 4th to the 5th.
We're in the 5th now.
30
Now
gates.
we're going to the 6th. We just went through that. We learned how the night gets longer and the day gets longer and the night gets shorter as we go through that 5th.
Here's our daylight here. 13 hours, 6 minutes, right? We were at 12 hours at the equinox, but here our day is
And
an hour and 6 minutes longer already.
And it continues on in 13, and it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal. And it rises and sets in the 6th portal 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign. And on that day it becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts. And the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun then mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer. And then the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6 portals, and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when the mornings are accomplished, the day decreases exactly by 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth from that 6th portal in the west and goes to the east and rises in that 5th portal again for 30 mornings. So now we've gone back. So it's 15 days out to the end of the 6th gate, and then it's 15 days back. It's turned about his face, returning back the way that it had come, it says. Right? Enoch.
15 out, 15 back. Right there.
And then it says, and the sun goes forth from the 6th portal, and then, yes, goes back to the 5th portal for 30 mornings and sets in the west in the 5th western portal. And on that day, the day decreases by 2 parts again, and then amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that 5th portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west. So he's continuing to show us that basically what Enoch saw was a circle of sight. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't shown a program exactly like this. It makes complete sense when you see it. And then it continues on here. On that day, the day is equalized as it's getting back into, and the sun goes forth from the 5th portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west and rises in the 4th portal again. Right? We're back to the 4th portal now.
All equinox.
Yes. And it says here on that period, and the sun goes forth from that portal in the west and rises in the 4th portal 1 and 30 mornings on the account of its sign and sets in the west. And on that day, when it reaches the 4th portal, the day is equalized with the night and it becomes equal in length. Right? We're all together here now. And the night amounts to 9 parts and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd portal. Now we're into the 3rd gate. They call it portal. It's a gate. It's the section that's outlined on Jason's model here. Right? And then we're now into the 3rd. Right? And on that day, the night becomes longer. Oh, look at that. We're starting to get into the winter months here in the north than the day, and the night becomes longer than the night, and the day shorter than the day till the 13th morning. So it gives us, we're almost halfway through the month, right? That'll be the full moon almost. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from the 3rd portal and sets in the 3rd portal in the west and returns to the east. And for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd portal in the east. And in like manner sets in the 2nd portal. Now we're into the 2nd portal in the west of heaven. It's doing the exact same thing, right? And on that day, the night amounts to 11 parts and the day to 7. And the sun rises on that day in that 2nd portal and sets in the west in the 2nd portal and returns to the east and to the 1st portal. Now we're into the 1st portal, right? We're into the first one here, way on the most northerly path of the sun.
Outside rim right here.
And on that day, then go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you have it. You're showing it, right?
Yeah, it's cross that dotted line there. It's going to work its way out 15 and back 15.
Exactly. Excuse me. And on that day, it becomes longer and amounts to double of the day. And the night amounts exactly to 12 parts and to the day 6. Right? And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit and turns again on those divisions of his orbit and enters that portal 30 mornings and sets also in the west opposite to it. Again, like there's no circling sun up in the sky. Enoch is telling you it sets, right? And on that night, the night has been decreased by the length of a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts and the day 7. And the sun then returned and entered into the 2nd portal in the east and returns on those divisions of his orbit in 30 mornings, rising and setting 30. And on that day, the night decreases in length and the night amounts to 10 parts into the day 8. So we start to see how the days becoming a little bit longer. We're starting to head back towards the 4th portal. And on that day, the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises. Now we're back to the 3rd portal and amounts to 9 parts to the day 9 parts. And the night is equal to the day again when we then enter back into the 4th portal. Right? And then Enoch goes on to state that took us 364 days. That's what Enoch had written down in this book or this transliteration.
Yeah, somewhere else he wrote 365 point
Yeah.
and a quarter.
right? That's the better one. But we're just going through, like, I wanted to point out that people have different transliterations, right? And the length of that day of the night shortens of the day, and the course becomes daily longer again, and the course again nightly shorter. And this is the law of the courses of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times he rises. It's so the way that they've got this one, it's not quite as basic, but this, again, we're just getting into this. We're going to be doing this a lot more moving forward. It says here, the great luminary, which is named the sun forever and ever, and that which thus rises. So it's not circling above your head, because then it's never rising, right? Rises is the great luminary, is named so by his appearance, according to Yahawashai hath commanded it. And he rises and sets and decreases not. Okay, now we've got another measurement here. The sun's speed is, Jason?
What?
The sun's speed. Mm-hmm.
Constant?
Constant. It decreases not. It never changes. On the AE map and model, the sun on the outer tropic would have to be almost doing twice the speed to have a 24-hour day in the north, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work. But in this model,
It would have to be going slower on the inside path. Yeah.
then it continues to say the sun rests not. He runs day and night. So the way that is explained is that it's always day somewhere and it's always night somewhere in the realm. Another virtual reality proof.
That's the funny thing. If you look up biblical cosmology, you're going to get nothing but the Freemason New World Order AE map and model. And that model literally 100% contradicts the scriptures that say that the sun travels the exact same speed. It doesn't change, right? So their model has it changing. It's just mockery of the scriptures, that whole Freemason pressurized pizza dome.
Exactly. And then it continues on to say, as he rises, so he sets and decreases not. The sun does not have any rest. He runs day and night. And his light is, it says here, 7 times brighter than that of the moon. But as regard, they are the same size, the sun and the moon. That's what Enoch was writing down. And we're going to continue on here. And after that, I saw another luminary dealing with a smaller one, which is named the moon. So now we want to get Jason to go on to Stellarium. And this continues on as I read. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heavens. And her chariot, which she rides upon, is driven also by the wind. And the light is given to her in a definite measure. So it's constant. One full moon isn't going to be, it's always consistent, her light. And her rising and setting change every month. And her days are not like the days of the sun. And where her light is uniform, full, it amounts to the 7 parts, or the 7th light of the sun. And thus she rises, and her first phase is in the east and comes forth on 13 mornings. So again, the moon, right? It's also rising like the sun in the east. It's very plain. We can understand that. And of the second day she becomes visible. So we're talking about her no light, right? No moon, right? Jason, do you have where was the last no moon?
It's hard to find no moons on here, so the full moons are a lot easier. I was just going to show, because full moons happen when the sun is setting, so it's easy to see that when you're at this dusk. Mm-hmm. And I knew that the 8th is full moon. Now it's easy to go from month to month and find when the full moon's rising at the horizon. And what you can see here now, so unfortunately, Stellarium doesn't give us the view that we do with the Andrew Marsh. We can't get outside.
Close. It's close.
And look at it from an outside view. We can make it super concave like this, where you can see a whole bunch, like you're inside a dome, right? But
yeah, no, we don't need to do it like that.
From the outside, but what you can see here is that here we're looking east, and you can see that, just like if we go back to Andrew Marsh real quick, if you're here, where you're the person at the center of this, and you're looking out to the east, all right, let's see how much we can zoom in here. Now you can see the gates, right? Here's the gates looking to the east, and you can see that it comes, this far north, and it comes this far south. That if I move the date slider here, you can see where the rise is to the north of east, and to where it's the south of east. And we'll be able to see that within Stellarium, but not quite as nice as this view. But you can see at this moonrise, it's coming up from this gate way to the north of the east, right?
Yeah.
Probably one of the farther ones out. So if I jump to the next month, step back. So this looks like this is probably the full moon rise. And so what it's going to do is these full moon rises are going to work its way through those gates as we look east. If we go to February, if we go to March, which day is the moon? Right, you see now it's moving its way to the, you see now this is going to be close to a full moon rise. It's getting closer and closer to east. If I go to May, look at this, now all of a sudden it's rising from the east. Now if we go to the next month, see how it's rising from south of east now. The next month. Now it's rising even farther south. So we're going to go through this progression where it's been rising through all these gates along here, and then we're going to work our way back, right? Where is the moon here? Get a little, better rewind time a little. Getting a little bright out. Because we're looking for the moon to rise at sundown. Come on. Oh, it's going the wrong way. What? There we go.
On the bottom of the screen.
What's that?
Did you see this? The moon was on the very bottom of the screen. You just had it rise.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sort of lost it.
It was there. No, I saw it. Well, you keep showing. There she is. Right. I was going to read as you keep playing with it there. And I saw another course, a law for her, how according to that law she performs her monthly revolutions. And all these Uriel, the Holy One, who is the leader of them, showed to me. And their positions, and I wrote them down, their positions, as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and in the appearance of their lights, till 15 days were accomplished. Now, this is tough for some people because it's tough for me a little bit. It's a little garbly, but I just want you to understand that this is something that the mainstream heliocentrism still doesn't have correct. We don't even have a modeling program that explains this. Jason's got to pull up Stellarium and show it to you like this, whereas the Andrew Marsh one showed you all the positions of the sun. Why don't we have it for the moon? It's because it's very complicated. They could do it, but then they would really verify the Book of Enoch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll continue here, and it says, in a single seventh part, she accomplishes all of her light in the east, and in the seventh parts, accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months, she alters her settings, and in certain months, she pursues her own peculiar courses. And in 2 months, the moon sets with the sun. In those two middle portals, the third and the fourth, she goes forth for 7 days and then turns about or back the other way and returns again through the portal where the sun rises and accomplishes all her light, and she recedes from the sun. And in the 8 days enters the sixth portal from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun goes forth from the fourth portal, she goes forth 7 days, until she goes forth from the fifth and turns back again in 7 days into the fourth portal and accomplishes her light. And she recedes and enters into the first portal in 8 days. and she returns again in 7 into the 4th portal from which the sun goes forth. Thus I saw their positions, and how the moons rose, and how the sun set in those days. And in 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days, and all the days which accrue to it for the one of those 5 years. When they are a full amount, we have 364, and an overplus of the sun of the amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days in every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and starts to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position a single day unto eternity, and complete the years with its perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years, there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years, 1,820 days, so that 8 years, there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount to 3 years, to 1062, and in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind to the sum thereof of 1770, and that is to be added to the 1,000 plus the 62 days. And in 5 years, there is 1,770 days, so that the moon is in the days for 8 years to the amount of 2832. For in 8 years she falls behind the amount of 80 days, and all the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations, realmly stations, and also with the stations of the sun, which rise from the same portals through which the sun rises and sets in a succession of 30 days. It's not the easiest of reads. But we're starting to understand that the moon has a very peculiar course, but all of these things were laid out in Enoch, right? And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole of creation and over the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, right? So we have the 4 days, what are those? The 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes, right?
Exactly.
That's how Enoch is explaining that to everybody. Did you want to have something to interject here?
Yeah, well, people need to know and remember that the Enoch calendar is not the Hebrew calendar, right? The Enoch calendar is a 364-day calendar itself. So the months of 30 days. So there's 3 months of 30 days, right? 4 times, that's 360 days. Then the intercalary days of the 2 equinoxes and the 2 solstices make 364. Now, the Enoch calendar resets on the equinox every year. So you're going to have a bonus day at the end of your last month before you reset the calendar and start from the equinox again. And on leap years, you'll have 2 days. Right? So it's an extremely valid calendar. It's super simple. But it's not the Hebrew calendar because it does not count months based off of the moon, right? He tells you how many days there are in the moon cycles and when things reconcile and become even again. But the Enoch calendar is not a lunisolar calendar like the Hebrew calendar is. There's no 13th month. There's none of that in the Enoch calendar.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's so the old calendar was pre-flood, and then Moses was the one who got the new understanding post-flood.
Mm-hmm. I brought up timeanddate.com because it's sort of hard to show in Stellarium all these moon rises and moon sets, but from here you get it from the data. You really do get a good picture. So on the 8th, when we had our full moon, moon was rising at 58 degrees. This is north of east, and it was setting at 301, which is north of west. And you can see each day since then, here we are at the 11th, the angles are coming back towards, see how these angles are becoming less and less and less. It's going to come back to the point where it goes 90 to 70 around the 17th. And then it's going to continue to progress the other direction, where the angles are going to be opening up from south of east, right, and setting south of west. And this goes back and forth in this wobbly pattern, back and forth every month, right? So these different angles are what we were looking at when we're looking at Andrew Marsh. Those angles are out here. So when the moon is rising at 60 degrees, it's coming up from out here. When it's rising at 90, it's coming here. When it's rising at 120 degrees, it's coming up here. And then you can see here from these angles the type of path that it's going to take around you. If you've ever paid attention, the moon will sometimes make a swoop from the south and head out south, and sometimes it'll make a swoop from the north and head out north. And other times it'll just take a straight path. So these are your straight path days, and these are your swoops, either to the north or to the south around the observer.
So to do the moon we would need a separate podcast to go through the courses of the heavenly luminary. It's a detailed section. But if we get back into this, I'll just go through a little bit more. We've got a couple more things planned for today before we head out for the week. It says here, for these Enoch have been given for signs and times, and for the years and the days. And the angel Uriel has showed them unto me, whom Yahawah of glory has set over them, over all of the luminaries of the heaven, and in the heaven and in the world, that they should rule on the face of all of the heavens, and be seen on the earth, and be the leaders for the day and the night, the sun and the moon and the stars, and all the ministering creatures, which make their revolutions in the chariots of heaven. In like manner there are 12 doors, Uriel showed me, open in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heavens, through which his rays of sun break forth. And from them the warmth is diffused over the earth, and when they are opened at their appointed seasons, and for the winds and the spirit of dew, when they are opened, standing open in the heavens at the ends. And as for the 12 portals in the heavens at the ends of the earth, out of which go forth the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west. And there are many windows open to the left and to the right of them, and one window is appointed season produces warmth. Corresponding, as these do to those doors from which the stars come forth accordingly, as he had commanded them, and wherein they set corresponding to their number. And I saw the chariots in the heavens running in the world above those portals, in which revolve the stars that never set, right? And the one is larger than all of the rest, and that is the makes its course through the entire world. So we definitely have a bunch of interesting things that Enoch's pointing it out. And he's saying here, and at the ends of the earth, I saw 12 portals or gates open to the quarters of the heavens. So now we're quartering off heaven. So if we could turn on you have the grid. So Enoch, now all of a sudden, Uriel says, check this out. He turns on the grid filter, and he shows Enoch how you can divide up the heavens, from which the wind goes forth and blows over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face of the east of the heavens, and 3 in the west, and the 3 on the right in the south. So we've got 4 different locations, right, of the heavens, and 3 on the left of the north. And there are 3 also, and that is of the east, right? And then 3 in the north, and then there are 3 on the left, which is the south, and then 3 on the west. So through 4 of these come the winds of blessing and prosperity. So we now understand that the sky can be segregated into 4 sections, just like the earth, right? Jason and I show that there's a north half to the map, which we call north, and south is the bottom half of the map. So in the north, we have what Jason has on the screen here. If you point your compass 180 degrees north, depending on your latitude on the map, that's how high up in the sky it'll be, but it'll always be 180 degrees north, right? And 180 degrees south, subsolar point, which is in sigma octans. So we have the half of the sky is to the left, Jason, from the north to the west, and the other side is from the north to the east. That's the 2 sides. And then the different pictures that we see in the sky are how we are able to read the story. That's basically, it's a piano player in the sky. These angelic beings, we're getting a deeper understanding. These aren't astrological signs that some satanic group made up so that they could tell you a horoscope. These are prophetic pictures that were put in the sky that actually sing music, right? They tell a picture, and they also have very music-like features about them. So we continue on here with Enoch, and it says, we've got on to And through the 4 come the winds and the prosperity and blessings. And from those, we're moving on now. From those 8 also come hurtful winds. And when they are sent, they bring destruction on all of the earth and on the water upon it and all of those who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water and on the land. So now we're getting an explanation, a hurricane, right? Or what else would we? A hurricane. Enoch's explaining a hurricane here, if you're with us, okay? End of the first wind of the portals. It is called the east wind. It comes forth from the first portal, which is in the east, inclining towards the south. So now we're getting, so in this picture, what we really need is our map, right? So Enoch is explaining how the different, what they call jet streams are being explained. And I want people to understand this book was written 5,000 years ago. Okay. Enoch's now explaining to us the jet streams.
Long before airplanes.
Yeah. From it come forth also desolation, drought, and heat, and destruction. So you wonder why there's places like the Death Valley. Death Valley is in the direct path coming from the first portal wind in the east. And it goes on to state.
Also, one of the things that I've noticed is that it's the areas on Earth that are below sea level that are the most scorched. So we know that our circle of sight is largest when we're high, right? That when you're on top of a mountain, you have the largest circle of sight. So then when you're at sea level, you're basically at the lowest circle of sight, except if you go below sea level, it seems to actually have an effect on the weather, that the areas on Earth that are below sea level are the most scorched desert areas we've got.
Yes, that's correct. So what Enoch was explaining was from the east comes forth the wind that bringeth desolation, drought, and heat. And then he said through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting. And it is from there comes rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through the third portal, which lies towards the north, come cold and drought. And after these come forth the south winds through 3 portals. Through the first portal of them, inclining to the east, comes forth hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it, there come forth fragment smells. Oh, I like that. And dew and rain and prosperity and health. And through the third portal, lying to the west, come forth dew and rain, locusts and desolation. We're almost done these. And after these, the north winds from the 7th portal in the east come dew and rain, locusts and desolation as well. And from the middle portal come in the direction of health, rain, dew, and prosperity. And through the third portal in the west comes clouds. So now we're getting an explanation where the clouds come out of, right? Saying here in the third portal in the west, clouds come out of. And hoarfrost and snow for all those people in the north and in the south in the reciprocal time of the year. Also comes dew, rain, and locusts. And after these 4 are the west winds. Through the first portal adjoining the north come forth dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow. And from the middle portal come forth dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last portal, which adjoins the south, comes forth drought and desolation and burning and destruction. So that's that south one bringing the burning and destruction, huh? Okay, well, you know that they're down in Antarctica looking at stuff, right? You guys want to know what they're seeing in the sky? It's probably wormwood, a giant blazing chunk of earth that's going to crash into the ocean soon enough.
I hope so.
Right? It's going to be interesting. And then it continues on here just to finish off. And the 12 portals of the 4 quarters of the heavens are therewith completed, and all of their laws and their plagues and all of their benefactions have I shown unto thee, my son Methuselah. So this was Enoch reading to his son Methuselah, right, giving him the instructions, and then brought forth Jared, and then we get down to Noah, and then you get to Christ, who is still constantly reading these books. He gave Enoch so many shout outs. So there's just a bit more. And in the first quarter is called the east, because the first, and the second in the south, because the Most High will descend there. So now we have Enoch giving a prophecy of when Moses was going to be here. He came down and descended on Mount Sinai, and Enoch wrote how he was going to do it. And in the first quarter is called the east. So the beginning, Enoch is explaining everything in the scriptures that talks about the east is also related to the beginning. Okay. And then it continues on to say here, And then the west quarter is named the diminished because there all the luminaries of the heavens wane and go down. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into 3 parts. The first of them is for dwelling of man, and the second contains seas of water, and the abyss, and fortresses, forests and rivers, and darkness and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. Oh, what is Enoch talking about? Let me put this on the screen for a second. But Jason, you don't have to stop. Why is it not showing? Oh no, I can't get this on there. But yeah, so basically what Enoch's saying here is that there's an abyss, right? And the north, we're in the north. And the fourth quarter of the heavens, he's naming it the north. And it is divided into 3 sections, the north. Okay, everybody in the Flat Earth movement wants to go to Antarctica. Right, Jay?
That does seem to be
Right.
what they talk about the most, because the United Nations
And the ice wall, right?
have a treaty, yeah.
But the problem is you could go there and sail around Antarctica and catch some Chilean sea bass while you're there, right? The thing is we are not allowed to go to the north. No planes are allowed to fly over the north. Not the same with the south. Planes do go over Antarctica, but they don't go over the North Pole, ever. Never. No one's actually circumnavigated the sphere Earth north to south, ever. There's no documentation. There's no evidence of it, ever. So what we can see here is the north is divided into 3 parts. The first of them for dwelling of man, so that would be like Canada and Russia. The second contains seas, right? So that's where the Santa's village is, right? And what we used to think was ice. It's water. It's all water. And then we have this abyss word. So it's interesting that Enoch's talking about an abyss there. And then we can continue on here. And I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth. So now we're seeing another section of mountains, which you have the fairy tales written about Mount Olympus, right? So plagiarized all throughout time is the truth. And they've been written by different lores and different groups. They call themselves pagans. And some say that they were Jews. Some say that they're this religion. Oh, I'm from this. Okay, the truth is always going to just be the truth. And what we see here is these tall mountains. And he said, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth. And thence comes forth hoarfrost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. Enoch said he was shown 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. And one of them, coming from the west, pours its waters into the great sea. And these 2 come forth to the north side, and they go forth in the north in their own sea. 2 of them, it's called the Etherian Sea, and 2 into the Great Sea, discharge themselves there. And some say into the desert. 7 great islands. Oh, what is that, Jason? 7 great islands. How many continents do we have in the map?
7.
7. And I saw in the sea, and in the mainland, 2 in the mainland, and 5 in the Great Sea. So Enoch basically was shown our map. Right. So what I want to point out here, that's probably as far as we're going to go for this section. We're going to do a music break. I want to ask you to get your opinion. It is a tough read. I'm going to put in a comment section below the courses, the Heaven Luminaries. This is just our first attempt to try to show you guys how this actually really aligns with our virtual realm.
Yeah, something I just noticed here. We were talking about new moons and no moons. And so the winter solstice, the darkest day of this year, is also going to be no moon. Right? So it's going to be extra dark. Not only is it the shortest day of the year, there won't be the moon to give its light for it either. So that's coming together. Coming up a little bit. Right?
Yeah. And if you guys are tuning in right now, if you have any questions, now is the time to put them in the chat. If you didn't understand anything, I know understanding the moon's peculiar courses, that's going to take a lot of time for us to, but I thought you did an excellent job showing the data for the Andrew Marsh site is on timeanddate.com. You just need to plug that into that site and you'll have the moon's peculiar courses, right? But so the grid, I like the grid. I don't like the drawings, the cartoons that they put there because they're not perfectly spaced. They don't align exactly. People go wrong there.
They do, but it helps the person that doesn't know the celestial shape quite as well, right?
Yeah, I'm just refreshing the chat. I'm not even allowed to use the internet sometimes. It just gets shut off on me. Sometimes the chat doesn't refresh and I don't see people's comments. But did you have more things? Because so what I just read I know the book isn't the best transliteration. We should work on, trying to tighten that up as we move forward. But Enoch explained the sun, the moon, and all the stars, how they rise, how they set. He gave us the description of the map, how the waters work, right? When he was explaining basically that the way that the seas empty themselves into the waters and they go forth and down. And he's explaining everything, all the workings of this reality. Like, I really want people to let that sink in. And this stands in the face of modern day heliocentric science.
It is real science, but it's from 5,000 years ago, and it's Enoch, seventh from Adam. So people don't like hearing it, right?
Yeah, well, why do you think the Vatican took it out? Right?
Of how powerful it
Way
is.
too truthful.
Enoch knew things that humans didn't even come to contemplate for nearly 5,000 years.
Come on, they weren't sailing. Okay, the earth wasn't even, the water wasn't even the way that it was now. Before the flood, it never rained. There weren't great oceans the way that they are. The waters were below the earth. Okay, people think that there was a dome over us, and because in certain books it says windows were open. Well, the windows are always opening and closing. That's how it rains. Like, the heavy rain is not floating up into the sky. The trillions and trillions of gallons of water is not floating up and accumulating sand. No, it's angels are over it, and they open up the windows and release the rain when they're told to. Enoch explained it all, where the hurricanes come from, all of it. I really hope that people are understanding this. I know it can be confusing. We've been studying this for like 10 years. I'm not seeing too many questions. What are you thinking? We're not done.
Yeah, let's keep going then.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm gonna do a music break, and then we're gonna get into a few more memes and talk a little bit more about Christ's talk with Nicodemus, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, so we'll be back after this. If you want, Jason, let me take the screen share.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, you can definitely leave them now in the chat, or even better would be to put the questions in the comment section below when we have more time to answer them, right?
Absolutely.
So let me get this screen shared here. Let's go. Yeah, we've got lots of great music. I could just play music all the time. Did I share with sound? Can you hear the background music?
No.
Okay, one second. Also learning these new tools.
Yeah.
It's fun. At least your voice is sounding better. That was upsetting me before. I really don't want to have any.
I could tell it was bothering you.
Yeah, so you should be able to hear everything now. So let's enjoy this song, and we'll see you guys after this break.
Tell me where it all went wrong this week. I'm buying you the diamonds as we speak. Pull up in a taxi, 5 a.m. Tell you that I love you more than them. Coffee and a smoke, wow, what a joke. The leg I had to stand on finally broke. Found a little history on my screen. Too little, too late, you scream at me. You scream at me. I promise that I'm trying to work things out. Let's go and get a ticket out of here. Rent a car and drive away the years. Do all of the things we never did, and live out all the dreams we had as kids. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone.
And we're about to come back on. I'm going to wait for everybody to get queued back up. It's a great new song. You're not alone. It's a brand new one. We just got it this afternoon. So when you're back on, let me know.
I am here.
So we did have a question. Did you want to address it?
Yeah, so I'm screen sharing the map.
Okay, great. Let me get that back up on the screen. And you're back on.
Nice. So yeah, great question. Asking about the North. And so this is what we've been sharing with people for over 5 years now. This is a stereographic map that has 2 polar points. And that's the critical thing. You need to have 2 polar points. So this has a polar north and a polar south. These types of maps are, it's a coordinate system, and it's used in computers a lot. You can set up any coordinate system you want. So this one is designed in a way where it could be projected to a sphere. So it's a flat map that could represent a spherical world in a 2-dimensional way. So the interesting thing here is each one of these lines of longitude, right? Those are the ones that differentiate the time zones across the face of Earth. The latitudes are the circles that go around these poles. Each one of these longitude lines come into the north. So if you were right here and you were going to go due north, you would be following this line. Now it is an arcing line, and it'll take you to this point. And then once you're at this point, basically everywhere is south again, right? So if you fly directly to this point, if you vary in your path at all, you're not going to know exactly where you're going to come out on the other side, and you can get lost. So let's say you were out here and you wanted to go due north. So you're going due north, you come up, you come into this point, and if you lose your bearing at all and you don't fly straight this way, you're not going to get to this point. If you come out of here, because everywhere is going to look south at this point. If you turn this way, this is going to look south. If you turned back this way, that's going to look south. So south is, we pointed out the problem with the AE mappa model, why you wouldn't want to go over the North Pole. And the same is true at both poles. So down here in the south, you would run into the same issue where if compasses are all pointing to a polar point, right, at one place, then now once you're at that center location, everywhere is north again from that point.
That's right.
So it'd be easy to lose your orientation and not go back in the path that you intended. So we've theorized that the reason why they set up the dew line, so the dew line goes right right around this, that's the 60th north latitude, that by putting a whole bunch of towers and stuff around the 60th here, then you could skirt around and still have your bearing, have some radio signal
Pings.
pings that would be able to direct you where you wanted to go. And it would just be wisest to not fly over the area where all of a sudden your compass spins, because if you're heading north like this and all of a sudden you go past this, all of a sudden your compass is going to flip and it's going to be pointing behind you.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how disorienting that would be if you were just flying by compass?
Well, so you've touched upon it. I'll just add in a little bit more basics to it. So there's a reason why we can't go to either the north or the south, right? There's a reason. It's because we would see these anomalies. It's not that we can't go there. We're allowed. It's just that the modern day equipment that they have, it doesn't work into these conditions. It doesn't. The only way that you could navigate these things would be through the stars. Okay. And then you're fine. You can travel south, because you would see, as you went north, Polaris would get higher into the sky until you were directly under it, and then it would be above you. And then as you continue to move forward, Polaris would fall behind you to the horizon, and then you'd see Sigma octans rising when you headed to the south. It works perfectly fine, but that's not how people navigate anymore. They use computers with pings. So you can't have anything going over that. Now, also, there's magnificent things that are written about in the Book of Enoch at both north and south spots. So they obviously don't want us to show that. So did you have any more to touch on that?
There's another way of looking at it that popped into my mind. And so one of the ways that we could debunk heliocentrism is by going to these extreme areas. They say that there's a circling, never setting sun, right? Because in heliocentrism, their model demands it. And we've never seen any real proof of a circling, never setting sun. Now, theoretically, it would take place if we go back to the Andrew Marsh and we go here. So theoretically, I'm going to show the map here. Let's take it.
So hang on. Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say, though, that if we could actually go to these spots, right, we might actually get to witness what we're discussing, this 24-hour sun. But because we don't have any footage of it, that tells me one thing, that nobody's ever been to the two pole spots.
So watch this. As I move this down, right, I'm moving that the way the sun rotates around the observer. And now as I get down here to the extreme south, this is theoretically, let's get this to a day where the sun would be above the horizon. This is what heliocentrism demands, is that the sun would go around the observer like this.
North and south. North and south. The AE map model demands it only in the north. They say it's impossible because if you see the south, the path is impossible. But we're not trying to debunk the AE map tonight. I don't want to pull up that map.
Yeah.
But that's a great...
Theoretically, you would have a sun that goes around the person that never sets. And both models demand it. The AE map model in the north and the heliocentric model both in the north and the south. We've never seen any real evidence of it. Like Ronnie was talking about earlier, D. Marble went up into Alaska in far enough north, right, where he should have seen the sun never set. Bob Nodell swore that
him and his uncle playing wiffle ball, right? Wiffle ball. They saw it.
So theoretically, you should have the sun going around without it setting. We've seen no real proof of it. So another reason to keep us out of the extreme north and south.
Yes.
Is to have people that would actually be eyewitness to the fact that it doesn't stay up all the time.
But the problem is there's wonderful things taking place there. So they're never going to let anyone go there ever again. Sadly.
All right. Yeah, so that's what we can say about the north and south. I hope that was help. Dennis said he finds our explanation better than other stuff.
I get, he said that before we explained it, but I think he meant the prior explanation. So I've got the screen share on. You're going to just have to stay the way that you are and listen. I can't for now. So this meme here on the screen says, science is nothing more than the name of a Masonic false religion. It takes credit for what research and development actually accomplishes, while spewing out fantastical nonsense in the guise of truth. Science as a means to finding any truth cannot exist because it has absolutely no relation to reality. Right? So the Masonic scientific community, your heliocentrism and all these other things, are just created fantastical nonsense. Right? And the things that are true, they take credit for too. They say, oh yeah, we discovered that. And then they throw all the fantastical nonsense on it. Jason, did you have to add on that?
Yeah, what was it? The mid 1850s, the very first science fiction thing ever written, dealing with space and stuff like that. So up until the mid 1800s, nobody had ever talked about going to the moon or to space or aliens or any of this type of crap. It was all pure nonsense. Science fiction as a form of disinformation propaganda began in the mid 1800s.
Yeah.
There was none of it before that.
And that's where we have modern day Masonic false science. Exactly well said. I'm just making sure I've got everything here. This next one says, the strong delusion, they perish because they did not accept the love of the truth in order to be saved. So many people, they'd rather go hide in the dark instead of just actually believing what is true. Right? Oh, the Book of Enoch 5,000 years ago completely explains our realm and everything and how it's stationary and fixed and flat and how the sun rises and sets and the moon and all the stars. And they say now they want to believe a strong delusion. For this reason, Yahawashai actually sends them the strong delusion so that they believe what is false. That's in the scripture, 2 Thessalonians 2:10-11. Did you want to say anything about that, Jay?
Yeah, well, stuck that into the recent video I did. That's been my stance ever since I learned about flat Earth, is that it's got to be the strong delusion, because
the sphere Earth is the strong delusion. I know that's what you mean.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but finding out about flat Earth made me realize that heliocentrism is the strong delusion. And you can see how once a person wakes up to this being a motionless plane, that when you look at other people, you begin to really see the delusion that they're in. When they see SpaceX and they think that Teslas are going to Mars, and that a capsule came back from the moon right now. When people believe in these things, they're in fairy tale land and
fantastical nonsense.
Yeah, and the whole heliocentric lie was created to have an excuse for not having a creator, that everything came from nothing in a big bang, and nothing to answer to. You only live once. This is just, you're a speck, you're insignificant, you have no purpose.
That's what Sagan said over and over again. And they just continue to just promote it, and then because people have wicked hearts, they get sent this strong delusion. This next meme...
Yeah, they fall for it. They start thinking... It happened to me. I mean, I've told people, I went through being an atheist and went from having gone from being a Christian to falling for heliocentrism. Right? When I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I got caught up in scientism, believing that I came from nothing, all that kind of nonsense. And I can see how wicked a belief in heliocentrism is.
Yeah. You firsthand. And I watched all that science stuff and tried to learn quantum mechanics. It's all nonsense. So let's keep going here. We're almost done. I still have to get into some scriptures before we go. But if Jason's looking on his YouTube page on his side of the screen, he'll be able to see this meme. It says, in a moment we shall be changed, from 1 Corinthians 15:52. And what we have here is a Vatican created psyop where they call it some sort of a rapture, because they mistransliterated a word the same way they did it with the word firmament, which has nothing to do with the word firm. Right? We're almost committing homophobic errors when we start to use English words that sound like other languages, as of Latin. Firmament does not mean firm. It meant the vast vault of the sky, the expanse.
Rocky, yeah.
So what's going to happen? We are going to be changed. We're going to be given imperishable bodies. We're not going to feel pain anymore. That's what's going to happen. We're not going to disappear, because this is our kingdom, right? This is where we're going to be staying. New heavens and earth are going to be born here. So we're not going to be vanishing anywhere like all these fake rapture Christians try to teach. I just want to point that out. Jason, if you have anything to say, I'm going to move on.
Yeah, it's one of those Vatican doctrines that get people that think that they're going to go to heaven. And
Yeah. Where's heaven? Where's heaven?
Heaven's supposed to be where we're going to spend the rest of eternity, but that's not what the scriptures teach at all.
Heaven is within you. It's inside your heart, your spirit, your soul is within you. And it's within me.
The earth is where the millennial reign takes place. All this stuff is on earth. Right?
Yes.
We're not
taking off. We're not leaving.
floating around in outer space, right?
Yeah. So this next one is very important. Okay. This was it was posed as a question, and she asked, if religion isn't the path to Yahawah, then what is? Because what you and most people on the other side of the screen believe is religion is actually nonsense, Vatican created dis and mal and misinformation. Yahawah, which means existence, right? We just took out the Oz because the language was so unambiguous. The language that the angels speak, they didn't have to write the A because it was after every single consonant except for I, right? So Yahawah's true religion is your own body and soul. You go to church within you, not outside. The moment you go outside of self to a place Yahawah hath never sent you, then you are going to find divisions. When the spirit of Yahawah moved upon the face of the waters, and Yahawah said, let there be light, it was his voice that spoke life into creation. And it is his voice that speaks through us. So do not search without, when Yahawah will always be found within your heart. So too is heaven. Right? Jason, did you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so religion and Christianity are two different things. Like I had mentioned earlier, I grew up thinking that Catholics were like sort of Christians, right? Because they talked about Jesus and these kinds of things. Religion is organized groups that we know from all the research that we've done that the Vatican has infiltrated every organized group. All right, they've got Jesuits, they got Freemasons. Every organized group has been infiltrated, and what they do is they bring people up within the organization, they corrupt it, and they mislead it. So you're not going to find any organized religion on earth that's teaching the truth. I was flabbergasted when learning about Flat Earth how no other Christian religion took on to it. I'm like, oh man, like I thought that somehow Jehovah's Witnesses and all these other religions, that some of them would grab onto it. No, they are 100% fully New World Order tools and agents. So the only way that you're going to find the actual truth is to sit down with the Holy Scriptures and read and reflect and ponder and contemplate and test and actually research and come to accurate conclusions based off of what's really there, not what other so-called leaders and organizations are teaching. They are hell-bent on trying to corrupt what is true and mislead you as much as they can.
Yeah, you can find the same... Oh, I'm peeking out in volume. You can find the same sediment in every single movement, not including religions, even the ones that people call themselves truthers. They set up agents in place. If you read what the Jesuit oath is, it literally says that we will appear to be one of them while destroying them from within. That's the Jesuit oath that they swear. So moving on from that, someone was bringing up in the chat again about rakia and firmament. If you look up the true transliterated original word for what they use the word firmament for, you're going to find that it's the word rakia, which meant the heavens, the expanse in the sky. And if you use that same word that they use, the word firmament, you'll find out that all the birds, the sun, the moon, and all the stars have to be locked inside of a dome. If you use the same word, it's a ridiculous psyop. There's no evidence of any dome, right? We went over rainbows. I don't want to get too much more into that, but what you have to do is do your own research, open up the Strongs and go into the actual original words and look at their meanings. And you're not going to see anywhere in there a dome. It's ridiculous. So let's get on to the most important part of tonight. Everything else, in my opinion, was just fun to learn about the shape of this map because it's all going to get burned. Everything we just went through is going to be gone. But I'll tell you what's not. The truth in these words here. It says reincarnation is not a religion. It's not. It's not the spiritualists, the New Agers, the Satanists. They don't own it. Yahawah hath been the owner and the creator from everlasting to everlasting. It is a life changed. What was the last meme that we went over here? I'll go back to it. Changed. Reincarnation is what's been going on. That's the glory of the Heavenly Father. John 3:3 says, Yahawashai replied, very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of Yahawah unless what? What does it say, Jason? If you could see it on your end, it says, unless they are reborn. You have modern day Jesuitical nonsense telling you that means that you say some prayer and get water splashed on your face. You're reborn. That is not what it meant, right? At all. I get fired up. I get what's called righteous indignation, because I don't know how many lifetimes I've been fighting for this truth and being mocked, ridiculed, put down. I can't even go online sometimes. I can't even use YouTube on Google Chrome. I can't use any YouTube products on Google Chrome. They banned me from the whole entire site, and all I've ever done is share truth. Now let's look at the scriptures. I hope you're awake right now, because I'm about to show something that all of us should know. Here was the greatest teacher 2,000 years ago, so-called, in the land of Israel, which is now actually the occupied state of Palestine, right? That's the truth. So here it is. The greatest teacher snuck out. He wanted to come and meet, because he had a good heart. Nicodemus had a good heart. He wanted to meet Yahawashai and talk to him. And here's how the conversation went. And I really want people on the other side of the screen to put away that religious dogma that you've been sold. The mal, and misinformation about the fact that you think being born again meant that you got some water splashed on your head. Let's look at this a little bit more carefully. It says, now there was a Pharisee, a man named Nicodemus, who was a member of the Jewish ruling council at the time. And he came unto Yahawashai at night and said, Rabbi, teacher, we know that you are a great teacher who has come from Yahawah, for no one could perform the signs that you are doing if Yahawah were not with him. And Christ replied unto him, very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of Yahawah unless they are born again. This is plain. I'm not speaking Swahili. Born again. And what did the greatest teacher 2,000 years ago say? How is it that someone could be born again when they are old? Nicodemus asked. Surely they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb and be born. And you've got the same nonsense taking place with modern day so-called Christians. When I come to them and explain this to them, right, they say to me, I don't understand. They don't even understand the fact that this simple scripture is explaining that it has nothing to do with Nicodemus himself, as the man he is, crawling back into his mom and being born again. Okay, that's ridiculous, right? What Christ was saying here, we'll continue. Very truly, I tell you, no one can enter into the kingdom of Yahawah unless they are born of the water and of the Spirit. So what is it that we're born through, Jason? What is it that we are born through every time we've come here?
Amniotic fluid.
Water, right?
Water.
I've got to pull this up, my screen share, because
Body water.
Being truncated here at the bottom, and I want to make sure that everybody can see it. 1 second. Just on the fly, I have to fix something. Let's see. Just to make sure. This is very important that everybody gets this. So the water, again, water, the moms. The umbilical cord attaches us through amniotic fluid, water. And the Spirit. The Spirit is who you are. Okay, flesh gives birth to flesh. So Nicodemus said, how is it that I can be born again in my mom? Right? And Christ went on to explain to him, first you have to be born again of the water and the Spirit. He goes on to say, flesh gives birth to flesh, but Spirit gives birth to spirit. Right? You should not be surprised at me saying you must be born again. Okay, I really want people to understand. Nicodemus said to him, how is it that I enter into your kingdom? And Christ very plainly said, you got to be born again, right? And he then went on to state, the wind blows wherever it pleases. And you hear its sound, but you cannot actually tell where it comes from or where it is going. And so too is everyone born of the Spirit. Jason, what do you think that means?
Let's hear your version first.
I wasn't setting you up. Born of the Spirit means that you are reincarnated. Right? How can this be? Nicodemus asked. Christ looked at him and said, you're Israel's greatest teacher, huh? Right? Oh, Hashem this, Hashem that. That's what the new Messiah is saying. And Christ said unto him, And do you not understand these things? Very truly, I tell you, we speak of what we know and we testify to what we have seen. But still you people do not accept our testimony. Could you imagine that the same story, Jason, 2,000 years ago is being said by me and you? What do we got? We got 20 people tuned in. I bet you 15 of them are haters of us, trying to see if we put something on the screen that they could take a screen cap of, or I twist up a word wrong and they're going to record that and ha ha ha, they laugh. Nothing has changed. They don't accept mine or your testimonies as two brothers of the truth. Since we met, we made an agreement, me and Jason, not to make any money, right? Not to do anything other than share the truth. And we've done it, but yet nobody here. We got 20 people, right? Go and click on the Satanist channels. You'll see hundreds of thousands, right? Continues on here, and I've spoken to you of earthly things and you do not believe. Then how will I speak to you of the heavenly? He said that plainly to Nicodemus. Now, Jason and I are trying to explain heavenly things, but Christ here was explaining reincarnation, because he wanted to tell Nicodemus the truth. Nicodemus came to him and Christ said, I am the truth and the way and the life. No one comes unto Yahawashai except through me. So he gave him the most truthful answer you could possibly fit into this small amount of scriptures. No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who has came from heaven, the Son of Man. Right? So let's look a little closer at this scripture here in 13. No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven. Right away, we've just absolutely annihilated Elon Musk and SpaceX and NASA. They're gone. 13 just did away with them. No one has ever gone into the heavens. Sorry. Except, who do you think the Son of Man is? Right? I'll continue reading and then I'll tell you. Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so too the Son of Man must be lifted up, that everyone who believes may have eternal life in him. For Yahawashai, this is the most quoted scripture ever, and I don't even know if one of the Christians even know what they're talking about when they say it. For Yahawashai so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Who do you think the one and only Son is that came down from heaven? There's only one. There's only one character.
Christ.
Well, you could call him that now. Yeah, he's the Christ now. But now when he came down from heaven as the first and only Son of Yahawashai, the only man not born of woman is Adam. Adam is another name for the term Son of Man. Adam reincarnated. Okay, that's who the Son of Man is. And that whoever believes in him shall not perish and have eternal life. For Yahawashai did not send Adam. Okay, now I'm taking you back to the fall. Okay, remember Adam and Eve were in paradise, right? Don't eat of this, right? Or you're going to have to die, right? That was the first sin. So when Adam fell, he did not get sent here. He did not fall because he ate some fruit or something. No, he came here because Yahawashai had a plan to redeem mankind through him, through his Son, right? For Yahawashai did not send Adam into the world to condemn the world. No, he sent him to save it, right? And whoever believes in him is not condemned. But whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of Yahawashai's, what again? One and only Son. And this is the verdict, that light is come into the world, but people have believed darkness and loved it so much that because of the light and their evil deeds, they will not come out to be exposed. Everyone who does evil hates the light, though, right? Because, again, they will not come out into the light because they're afraid that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes out into the light, so that they may be seen plainly that they have done what is right in the sight of Yahawashai. So this is the defining line between a good truther and you can find a wicked bad truther. They'll always hide their faces, hide their names, have fake avatars, tell you half-truths. But Christ tied everything together in this small discussion with Nicodemus. It's only a few paragraphs. Do you know how much is packed into these few paragraphs? The whole entire plan of salvation, why Adam fell and Eve. And if people think I'm crazy, how about this? Why do you think Christ's rib was pierced and water poured forth from it? Who was the first mother that brought man through the water process? Was Eve, right? So everything has a divine plan, and everything has been completely explained in very plain, simple terms. Jason, when I explain this to you, do you understand it?
I do.
It's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah. Well, it's And here we are, we're the ones showing everybody that we are in a virtual reality. And so really the first thing that you got to ask yourself once you really come to the realization that you're in a virtual reality is, do I only get to play once? All right. So we're just showing that when you do the research from the scriptures, the answer is no. No, you get to play more than once. Right? In fact, you're going to have to be reborn in order to see the kingdom. That's literally what Christ said.
Yeah, and leave the dead to the dead and deal with the living. So Christ's teachings were about karma. And they were about glorifying the Heavenly Father. Whenever you hear to the glory of the Heavenly Father, that's how you can understand that groups of people in the Old Testament were put to death. The flood, they wiped out everybody. Gone. And it didn't just happen once, it happened multiple times. And what you need to understand is there was the glory for Yahawah put in that we are on the earthly level, have no understanding or idea. Do you know how complex the human is? It's amazing. And that's just our avatar, right? I'm talking about the entire plan from everlasting to everlasting. And it's beautiful. And, it's sad that I can share this truth with people, right? And Jason and I, we don't own the truth. We don't own anything. We just share what we witness. We don't take credit. We don't need any awards. We don't need anybody to tune in. We don't. We're going to do this regardless, as we've proven. But what we do want is the people that show up here to actually think about these things and take them into your consciousness where the Father dwells and hold them in your heart and talk to him. Why is it that Christ wanted to teach this to Nicodemus, right? And Nicodemus didn't ask him, how do I get to the kingdom? Christ just told him, truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom unless they are born again, right? And so today we're explaining the same things, Christ's path, what he went around. The good news of the gospel was, even if you die, you will be born again. That was the good news of the gospel, people. And guess what? All the people that knew that went around were killed. The apostles, all of them. And they were killed. They were happy to be killed. Except for John. They tried to kill him like 3 times. They couldn't. They sent him to an island. And he wrote the book of Revelation. So
John the Revelator.
The whole entire teaching of the glory to the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven are easily found in simple, plain terms, right in plain sight here in this scripture that I have on the screen. Nobody is going to enter into the kingdom unless they're born again. Now, there is a generation that's not going to see death, right? And Christ told all the apostles, I will be with you till the end of time, right? There's all these scriptures that we'll have to do another podcast where I bring this to a next level. But the main thing I wanted to point out here is it's your heart's condition. If you don't believe, if you don't want to understand these things, and if you're not looking to find truth and have it be plainly seen that what you're doing here is to glorify Yahawah and his only son. Like, who do you think the only son is that came down from heaven? Why do you think Christ phrased it like that? Right? Why? Christ was also going around telling everybody that he was the Son of Man. That's why they killed him. Kill him again. He raised Lazarus from the dead. What did the scribes and Pharisees say? They said, go and get him and kill him again.
and think about, through one man,
death
sin entered the world.
Yes,
through
death,
one man,
eternal life.
Eternal life. So if you don't really start contemplating Christ being Adam at that point, something's going over your head.
Well, you don't even have to take it to that, because the titles, the names, there's a new name, right? There's always a new name. If you look closely at the scriptures, Yahawah has nothing to hide. He gives it all away. You have to actually seek it. Jason and I can come out here and say these things, but maybe on your end, it's whoa, 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 whoa. Maybe you don't hear me. And I don't think it's ever been so plainly spoken, besides, of course, Christ and John the Baptist, right? The way that those men spoke. Now we have all these other tools here. We got the screen shares and all the different books. They had soapboxes, right? A couple of 2x4s they'd stand on in the middle of town. Hey, hear ye the word of Yahawah, they would say, right? And they could do it with their words. And not only that, Christ and John, they had supernatural abilities, right? That's been taken away. It's been put down to your heart condition. And so the 2 witnesses, their ministry was to go out and measure the temple of Yahawah, right? So when we look at that from the heavenly level, there's 2 levels of scriptures, an earthly and a heavenly. And go figure, it talks about it right here on the screen. How can I speak to you of heavenly things if you don't understand the earthly things? So I'll tell you the heavenly things, right? So what you need to understand is that all these parabolic meanings have been in here, and they're just plain. Jason, it's not hard to understand that. So Adam was created. He was created king over creation, healer over creation, right? And priest. He was all three. He was given that title, but what it looks like is there was a path that needed to be done to obtain those things. We got the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end in the story. That's what we have. And we're actually just going through it, and we're now in the 6th day, right? So again, the heavenly level understandings are couched within the earthly. So when we get to this next day, we're about to be created new again. A new map. So all the other stuff that we just went through and the search for the map and the way that the heavenly luminaries and everything's beautiful, we're going to get all new things, new names, right? And I'm just really excited about that. And I don't want people to dwell upon the understanding of Adam. I want you to understand of it as the son of the living Father. He is the son.
Nighttime's going away during the millennial reign. We know that from the scriptures already. There's not going to be any more night during the millennial reign.
Well, I believe there's going to be a whole array of other types of things that are going to take place. It's going to be more fantastical than you could ever imagine. Like we only see things so dimly lit, but there is great light. There is great light within this realm because there's truth, right? This path, the Son and the Father and the path that they took out. So again, the supernatural has been taken away. The 2 witnesses were sent here to measure the temple. The heavenly level understanding is that the temple of Yahawashai is you, your soul, your spirit, the one that's born again, the spirit. And the 2 witnesses were here. So when you have truth and you go around and you speak the truth and other people react to it, you get a measurement. You get a measurement of their heart condition. So basically what I see is everybody's being tested. And their heart condition is what's going to decide their eternal destination, right? We know there's a paradise earth that's has been prepared, and it's on its way. And there's also a basic, place where people are going to go to be kindling. Right? Very torturous, very gloomy, very dark, very no water. No.
Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, they all talked about it. Enoch saw all this. He
Christ
talked about it in great detail.
Christ quoted Sheol more than anything else, right? Trying to save people from it, but I don't want to scare people like that, because I do believe that most people, except for the 15 people that probably tuned in just to see if we do something wrong, I know you're all going to be good. So again, the 2 witnesses ministry was to measure the temple of Yahawashai, and it could be almost done, right? I don't know. All we know is that we've come here to share this truth with you tonight to help you understand that you can find disinformation and truth mixed. That's what you're going to find out there. But what you do is hold fast to that which is true and let the rest of the stuff go. And even more so, if you have the ability to expose it, that's what we're commanded to do, right? And that's all we want to do. And I don't want to get people thinking that, they're going to use the name Jesus and the name Adam. And I just want people to understand that it's the Son of Yahawashai. The only one, there's only one son that came down from heaven. That's Adam. He was the one. And then Eve was taken from him. So she too came down from heaven in her own way, right? We don't ever like to exclude Eve from any of our teachings. She's the first mom. And women are so powerful. They're the only beings powerful enough to bring human spirits through into this realm, through a portal, through them.
If you want to be reborn, you gotta have a woman, right?
Yes. And
the way it's designed.
And look at the New World Order, what they're trying to stop rebirth, their mission, right? We could go on and on and on, but I hope that maybe you've picked up something tonight that might help you. And if you have any comments, or if you'd like to add any more, please, again, leave the comments below. I said that last podcast, and what kind of comments did you get?
Oh, I had a bunch of action with shills coming in. Well, the flat earth stuff gets the heliocentrists all riled up. So we'll see how that works tonight with us covering this from
biblical or scriptural
cosmology. So
I don't like the word biblical.
Get some reaction. I like having the comments to work with.
Yeah. Well, there's nobody that comments like you. I just hope that people can open up their hearts and try to search more truth, because it's needed. We need people. I see so many people, like I said, when I went into the whole Elonald rant. And just so people know, when I say Elonald, it's because me and Jason quickly noticed that Elon Musk was teaming up with Donald Trump. So we just made them Elonald. We say either one of them, right? Or Delon? No, just Elonald. And it's nonsense, but it's also maybe scriptural. But we don't have time to get into all that. We went way over time. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, bro.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So should
Absolutely fantastic.
prepare to send us out? And I hope you guys got something out of it. I'll let you say the last words, and then I'll play us out, brother. Thank you very much for your efforts tonight and your patience while I went through all that.
No, it's been great. So we got to do flat Earth and biblical all in one, and put the modern twist on it as well. So it's been enjoyable. Thank you everyone that showed up. Please comment. Leave a comment. Let's talk. And until next time, the only place you're going to hear any of this is beyond flat Earth.